All right, we are back in the front gardens here, and since it's been just a few days since I did the spring tour, I'm running this a little bit later, so by the time I'm running this, the garden will be much further along. But you can already see just like what a few days of sun and rain will do for a garden. I mean, some of these plants are several inches taller than what they were just a few days ago. So spring, once it hits, it's full on. And today I wanted to share 7 bulbs that I've been, well, bulbs slash rhizomes slash corms. They're all in that kind of bulbous, tuberous kind of family. Many of them that I have been planting year over year, and I treat them like annuals here, except for one, because a lot of these are not hardy to our zone, which is a 5-6 zone. So typically these will have to be lifted. And they range, but like from, if you're in zone 7, some of them have to be lifted, some of them are hardy to zone 7, some will have to be lifted.
Which means you gotta take them indoors, right?
Yes, basically you need to take them indoors. You put them maybe in a pot of sand in your garage or a cool greenhouse if you're in a zone 5-6. But if you're in a zone 7 or 8 in some cases, or 9, most of the times you could just leave them in and they're perennial. The only one that I have, and the reason why I wanted to do this one and I grouped them this way is because they give a sense of exoticism to your garden. Somebody in a 5-6 sometimes wants a little bit of the tropics in their garden. And when you treat them like annuals and they just, you know, unceremoniously die because you forget where you had planted them in your garden, you maybe just get them the next year and plant them again. The only one that is hardy, believe it or not, in this area, because it's hardy from zones 5 to 9, is the hardy Chinese ground orchid. It's called Blatilla striata. And this one's the Penway Sunset. And this has a very beautiful, like orange russet color that fades into this green. And it's a rhizome, so I'll show you it. It's kind of covered in this chaff. That's a nice healthy rhizome, and I got 4 of these, and they get to about 3 feet tall. So it's really, oh, this one's starting to come up right here. You see that? Whoop. So this is raring to go because out of all of these, this one's the earliest to bloom, which is like a late spring, early summer. So you really got to plant them now, and they will come back year over year. And I actually was just at the Smithsonian Gardens, and they had some Blatilla that was blooming. The typical one is like a little kind of fuchsia color, but I like these in my shade garden. So I think I have a couple actually that are already planted in my shade garden. So I got a few more. We have native orchids here. They're challenging to grow. These seem to be a little bit easier, and they provide like a nice little tropical mix to what is typically right here just a native planting. So I primarily will do native plantings and then just stick a few non-native plants in there in between. Now, because these get to be about 36 inches high, I'm going to tend to plant them towards the back because you could see I have like a lot of low ground covers over here. So I'm going to go in the back and plant them up. Put my gloves on as well and save my hands. So some of the other things that I have back there are some trillium. I have some epimedium that is starting. It looks like I have a leucojum back there. And I'm just going to sneak on a little sneaky path. This is where the chipmunk comes through. So this will be in the line of the chipmunk, but I'm going to put a little here. Oh, look at this. Something got dug up here. This is a little cyclamen. Look at that. So I'm going to rebury that. Some of these get ripped up back here, but that's why I think none of the plants have grown back here. So I'm just going to pop these rhizomes in. And they don't need to go that deep. You know, just want to bury them and have the green bits. You don't even need the green bits sticking up, to be honest with you, because they'll just poke through. That's what they're designed to do. So I'm going to get this right here. And I could see where the trillium are because it's like early enough in the season that the trillium are up. Just dropping a little biotone in there to give them some fertilizer. And then I'm gonna get one right here, back here. And the chipmunk may or may not like that, but it's okay because I get like a few of them. So, see that? Just buried it just a little bit like that. And then let's put one right here where it's a little sunnier and see which one does really well. Hitting a little rock back there, but that's no biggie. So this one has that nice little green finger coming up. Are they in that love triangle again? They're at it again. It's crazy. We have this soap opera happening between these 3 ducks, 2 mallards and 1 female. All right, so that's my first one. The next one I have is the Naked Ladies collection. It's so brash. So these are called Naked Ladies. They're a type of Japanese spider lily. I think it's Nerine Bodenii as the scientific name. And these are beautiful. I think they're all different cultivars or different species with the Naked Ladies. It says it has 3 Vesta, 3 Anastasia, 3 Alba, and 3 Amandi. But these are gorgeous. And they get to about 32 inches tall. I don't know if you're familiar with spider lilies, but they get this kind of spidery bloom. And yeah, this one says 24 to 30 inches tall. And I usually plant them here in this garden, and they just get this lovely colors of like pinks, whites, creamy pinks, peaches. And because this theme of this garden is more in the whites and the pinks and the kind of purples, this actually works really well. So I had planted them before, and I will plant them again. I'm not going to plant all of them here because I want to get to the other ones. So I'll show you what it looks like. And this one says plant them 6 to 8 inches apart. I usually just follow the rules, and you want to have their necks exposed. So I had done bulbs in containers with another Hymenocallis, if you recall, and those also had the necks exposed as well. So this is what we'll do. So I'm going to grab a few of these and plant them together. I think I'll plant them in our hydrangea shrubbery garden. Look at all these great flowers coming in. Ooh, I can't wait to see what I've planted. A lot of these are new. So the neck is gonna stay up. It's probably for the better too, so I know not to step on them. And they just need to be 6 to 8 inches apart. So, and these will start to bloom in the summer months. So it's not yet May, believe it or not. It's going to be May starting tomorrow. So I would say the summer months are just a month and a half away. And again, a lot of this garden is a native garden, but I don't mind actually planting like some of the hyacinths or the tulip bulbs that come up and they could slowly naturalize. And then these guys, you know, they're only here for a season unless I lift them. This one I only got 2 bulbs this year. This is so funky. Eucomis is actually common. You could find different eucomises in the market if you really look. This is called pineapple lily. And everyone always points this one out because it is so bizarre looking. It kind of looks like it has a pineapple top to it, and it's this chartreusey green color. And I have planted this in the pollinator garden. I don't think any pollinator is really interested in it, but it's a very sculptural plant. It gets about to 20 inches tall. And I don't plant them, they say plant them 6 inches deep. You know, I basically plant them double the size of this down, so maybe like 4 or 5 inches. So we're gonna plant them back into the pollinator garden. I'll show you where I had planted them before. And again, these aren't hardy. So if you don't lift them, they're not gonna come back. If I keep on planting them, year over year in the same place though, I might be able to find them. But at the end of the year, there's always so much else going on. So I planted them kind of around here. And let's plant one right here too, right where this dandelion is, so I could also weed as I grow. I don't mind the dandelions in the lawn, but the dandelions in the garden can get to be a little much. All right, I'm gonna put that in and cover it with the thyme. And you see, this is the good thing about bulbs. This bulb is under all this thyme and it's right next to this grass. So they could kind of coexist with one another, which is like brilliant. It's almost like I could have more plants in the same space. Oh, summer trumpets. These are some of my favorite. So this is called now Zephyranthus. So it says Hebranthus robustus, but it's not now in a new genus called Zephyranthus robusta. And these are beautiful little pinky peach coral colored flowers, quite small, 6 to 8 inches. And they kind of have this like little lily face that looks up to the sun. This would work in a small container. They would work maybe in a little rock garden. And these will flower from summer to fall. And so I plant these because of the colorway. I plant these in the pollinator garden. I plant them, I forget about them, and when they pop up, I'm just like, woo, that's pretty cool. So I typically plant these. Oh, little chipmunk running around. I typically plant them right where the chippy is, right here. So this has been my choice place of planting my summer trumpets. And now here's something I need to come and do. Here's some tulips, by the way, coming up. Look at how beautiful these are. I'll have to get you the cultivar name. I've planted these already. So this is what's happening when either the soil starts to settle, or so you see these plants coming up. I mean, they don't really care, it seems, but I have to come here and fill in with more compost or some soil medium so that these aren't sticking up because they're starting to settle. Now this tulip was eaten, you could see, so we'll see. Time will tell whether that will pop up. But these can be planted very close together. I actually like them. I prefer them planted close together. Now, if you're in a warmer climate where these are going to perennialize, you might want to pay attention to the packet of how far away to plant certain plants because they will perennialize and get more robust. But when you're considering them just like an annual, here in a zone 5-6, you don't have to really pay attention to how far away to plant them because they're never going to perennialize. They're just basically going to become compost at the end of the day. These are small bulbs. They kind of remind me of like little tulips. I don't want to disturb that tulip bulb either, but the tulip is going to be passing out in a few weeks and then these will kind of take its place. I see some of our native plants coming up here too. This little guy is probably either a foam flower or a little Mitella diphylla, one or the other. These are quite tiny. All right, I still have more of those to plant, but let me go on to the next one so I don't hold you hostage here. Show you which other ones that I would recommend. Oh, this is another one. It's really funky. For all my Araceae, the aroid lovers out there, houseplant aroid lovers, we do have some really cool native aroids here in the Northeast. This is not one of them. So this is a bit more tropical one. It's called a voodoo lily. Look at that size of that bulb. It's pretty cool. Now, these get to about, I would say, 2 feet tall, and they have the characteristic spadix and spathe that you would see in aroids, which is the funky flower. Now, I am going to plant these back there in that shade garden. Kind of where I planted the hardy Chinese orchids. So I'm gonna sneak in here. now that we're finished with the side of the house, Sandra told me I can plant back here.
Those are things to do. It's not going to increase accessibility.
No, it isn't. All right, so
They'll survive.
Look at this. So these are really been flowering for a long time, these hellebores. And now, yeah, and now these are my little dicentras, my little bleeding hearts. So cute. This reminds me of my great grandmother. She always had bleeding hearts everywhere. And look at this Trillium grandiflorum coming up. Wow. Unbelievable. We got some really, and this is like the stickweed back here, but that's native and I don't care. That'll work well. I didn't plant that there, but it's there. All right, so these will be cool because they're really funky. So if they come up this year, I didn't plant them there last year, but this is a new place. All right, so I got 2 left. The crocosmias. If you don't know these plants, they're so cool. I have a Fire King, which is a bit shorter. These get only 2 feet high. And then I have the Lucifer, which is always sold out. You have to buy them like early in the year before they get sold out. This is a little taller, so it's like 3 feet high and above. And they get these kind of C-shaped stalks that come out and draping bright red. In the case of the Fire King, it's a little bit more orange red. And the hummingbirds absolutely love them. They're super striking. So the last 2 I'm going to plant over in the memorial garden, which has a lot of daffodils right now. I wish the daffodils weren't in that garden. And then the last one after that I'm going to be planting, and I'll show you the bulbs when I take them out, is the peacock orchid. It's not an orchid. It's in the gladiolus family. And this one says Gladiolus calianthus, but I'm pretty sure that the species name has changed to Muriel, something like that. It gets to 2 to 3 feet tall, and they are really exotic looking, like kind of very patriotic for the US. They're like red, white, and blue, primarily white. And people, it's kind of like one of those plants that people always comment on, and they're like, hey, what plant is that? People are like, oh wow, that's fantastic. It's something that you normally see maybe at like a botanic garden or whatnot. Okay, we might get dive bombed by our tree swallows here. They're busy making a nest, and we have that on a camera in the tree box. This has been completely deer browsed, as you can see, so I'm really sad about that. It's, I'm gonna have to pull that, unfortunately, but typically I would plant my crocosmias in here, and it looks like, honestly, this looks like a little bit of a mess because until I actually cut down all of the daffodils, but we're gonna just work with these daffodils for right now. These are the lucifers, and you can see these are the Fire Kings. So I'm gonna do Fire Kings up closer because they only get 2 feet high, and I'm gonna do the other ones a little bit further back. And I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to take out some of these plants because these are plants that are not supposed to be here. I have not weeded this garden yet, so this gives me an opportunity to weed and put these plants somewhere. And this is kind of at the edge of the garden where it starts to get into like wild zone, and we haven't like really managed this garden on this side yet. But in the meantime, I'm like, hey, let me just plant some bulbs here to make it look somewhat presentable. And these are like kind of fat and squat, so you don't have to go really deep with these, 2 to 3 inches at most. I'm gonna spread the biotone all on top of this. Give this guys a nice fertilizer. I have some lilies coming up here. I have quite a lot of bulbs actually planted over here, but ones that perennialize. Like I said, this is the peacock orchid, and these get quite high as well, 36 inches. These are pretty. Got a nice like color to them. So I'm gonna go right up in here. These are gonna have to go a little bit deeper. Look at some of these alliums coming up. They almost look like welwitschia leaves. I need to spend probably a good day out here figuring out what's a weed and what's not. That's the last one that I'll plant with you today, but I'll be finishing up planting here. And I'll have to go back to all of my archives and show you some of these plants that had been blooming last year and the year before. But those are some of my favorite picks this year for some of the tropical look to your garden that you could plant in between with all of your other native plants as well. And if you're in zone 5-6, like I said, you could just leave them in there and get them next year. Or if you know where you plant them, then you could like lift them up. And if you're in zones a little warmer than us, 7, 8, 9, you could leave them in and they will perennialize for you. We'll be sharing how the gardens and wildscaped areas mature as the seasons progress, so if you enjoy videos like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications button to help us grow and share these videos to more folks. In the meantime, we'll be cracking away at more of the gardens and renovations here at Flock. We'll see you in the next video.